When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there world. How are we all? Are you rocking and rolling? If you listened to yesterday's episode, you would have heard a man who had a broadband shower head. And even 24 hours later, I'm still slightly freaked out how technology can take us into areas that we couldn't believe possible, but you can actually listen to the internet whilst you're soaping your bits and your bobs. Can it get better than that? Well, it is going to get better than that because I've got a guest on today who, I'll be honest, he's a man and he's already started flirting with me, so I'm not sure where the conversation's going to go, but it's going to go into good territories. He's someone who has been moving and shaking since entering the real estate world way back when he was just 22. In fact, by the time he was 27, he was living abroad full-time and could claim to have sold properties in 5 countries. Nothing like getting into the nitty-gritty of business as soon as you can, after all. So if you want to find a condo in Colombia or a flat in France or even a pad in Bhagdad, then he is your man. Well, that might be stretching it a bit, but he certainly is in the know when it comes to current methods of securing or selling a home abroad. With a top-rated podcast sharing great interviews and insider tricks, and his booming online business, he lets you know the honest approach to the best ways to go about living abroad. And that, my faithful listeners, is all I can tell you about him, as I found the man to be like Jason Bourne or James Bond or even the Invisible Man, as I literally could not find anything about him online. Not where he was born, grew up, favourite pastime, nothing. He's an international man of mystery. So it's a delight that I've lured him onto the show, not only to find out more about his work and to, of course, join Up Dots, but to ask, is your actual real name Taylor White? Taylor White.
David, the most handsome man coming from the UK. The first thing I want to say is, where can I get an accent like yours? Comes from the UK, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. Mine's from the States, my friend. It's not nearly as good.
It's a good... I have this conversation literally every night, and I like the American accent because it just seems slightly glamorous to... No, not even slightly. It seems really glamorous to me. I just have this image of sitting on horses and shooting people, and, you know, that's what you want. Isn't that what Americans are all about?
Well, and I eat cheeseburgers and I eat pizza, and all I do is watch the Kardashians.
I tell you what, my son, talking about rubbish television programs, because Kardashians is shocking, but the worst one that my son has got into is Storage Hunters or Storage Wars. Have you seen that? When you get a load of people going to these kind of lockups and they open it up and they can't touch anything, but they look in and go, yes, I'm going to pay $1,500 for that, and then get a load of old crap. Have you seen that?
I have, and it's amazing because they always seem to pick the one where it's like there's socks, there's an old dirty mattress, there's some tires, but lo and behold, in some back drawer, there's a pair of Louis Vuittons or there's a fancy watch, and it's amazing.
I always, there's a couple in it, and the woman is really annoying. And she's not the most attractive woman in the world either. But hey, she's on this television program. And I always think, if I was the husband, I would pay £1,500 for these lockups. And when no one was looking, I'd push her in and shut it down and run off. And I think that would be the best way to finish her off, because it's just weird. It's weird. And do you think television, this isn't part of the show, this is just me getting onto a rant really, but do you think television is generally getting weirder because they're trying to find more avenues to entertain us?
Wait, first, why do you guys call it telly? I'm curious, why do you call it telly and not television?
Well, it's television, isn't it? It's TV. The first bit is telly, so that we call it telly. Isn't that the way you do it?
We go television or we go TV, but David, it's your world. I'm just living in it. I do think that TV is getting a little bit more strange, or maybe we're getting more strange and the TV producers are just producing the things that we want to watch.
What is the strangest thing that you actually watch, Taylor White? What is the thing that you actually draw the curtains and so nobody knows that you're watching it?
David, I am proud to say I don't really have any boundaries. I don't mind watching taboo things or things that people think. But on on normal terrestrial TV. I don't know if it gets too weird. There's these random reality shows of that you can't believe what happened during sex, and they end up in some like emergency room. But those aren't really all that out there, anyways.
Sorry, backtrack on this, because this is a program I've never heard about. Weird things that happen during, and this is a family show, during special cuddles that actually means you end up in hospital.
Correct. So something happens during your special cuddle that makes you go to the hospital. And the show, it's on normal TV. The show is based on that. And you have people reenact the special cuddle. So, it's one of those shows, David.
That is a show. I'm gonna look that one up. That's something that fascinates me. What's the worst special cuddle moment that you've seen then?
It's David, why does it, and I don't know what I can say on your show, David, so I want to keep it as PG as possible, but why is it that these horrible things only happen to the men's bodies, right? Why is it the men's genitalia that always ends up, I don't know, chopped off or beaten or left in a car door? I don't know why, but it seems like it's always the men that are being tortured.
Left... I don't know where to go with this. Left in a car door. That is bizarre. Right, okay, I'm going to backtrack because this will be the weirdest episode I've ever done in my life. And I will have some complaints. So let's get on to it. Taylor White, is that actually your name? Let's find out the nitty gritty about you, because I've got a feeling, Taylor White, that even that's not true.
Is Taylor White my real name? Yes, it is. Is Taylor White my birth God-given name that I had no choice in creating? No, it's not.
Aha, you see, I've got you. So what was that name? What was the starting point of the person that has become Taylor White, the man that we love, who watches even more than slightly weird television?
David, you know that if I told you, what do you guys have in the UK? You guys don't have, it's MI6. The MI6 would be beaten at your door, but I will tell you how I got this name, and it's a true story. It's when you travel, and sometimes when you travel in foreign countries, you have a name that people can't say. So they sometimes just give you a name. And I was in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I was paintballing. I was having an amazing time, and I tore my clothes. Completely true story, David. I don't make up any stories whatsoever. And I needed to find a tailor, right? I was like, I need to find a tailor. I didn't bring too many clothes. I need to get this stitched up. So immediately, right, I was the guy trying to find a tailor. So the guy trying to find a tailor. Not too long after that, I was in the country of Nicaragua looking at gentlemen's farms. I'm a real estate guy. I'm always looking at real estate. It doesn't matter what's going on. And right there, I was the white guy. The gringo, the foreigner. So Taylor White was born. It's stuck with me. It's my sexier alter ego that's much more intelligent, much more suave, sophisticated than the original anyways, David.
And does it actually change you? Well, when you become Taylor White, obviously you are Taylor White now, but does it actually have a kind of cloak sentiment to it where you actually become a different person because you've got a different name?
No, it really doesn't. I've been living and breathing Taylor White for a long time. It really doesn't make any difference. I just like to stick with what I know.
Because I know a woman who I used to work with who changed her middle name to Skywalker. And it was fine, and she used to tell people, but she just suddenly got in trouble because she couldn't get a passport or something because they wouldn't allow her to have Skywalker on her name. And that's a kind of cool name, isn't it? You could have gone with James Bond, you could have gone with Indiana White, you could have gone with anything really.
I did, but I chose the name that chose me, David. It wasn't up to me. It was up to the people. I could have been David Webb, right, who's from the Jason Bourne movies, because that's how it originally started, was with David Webb, who turned into Jason Bourne. But, David, I didn't choose it. It chose me.
Bit mystical there. We're going a bit mystical, that the universe is working in strange ways. So let's go back to this person that we don't know. Where were you born, then?
Born and raised in sunny San Diego, California, which for those that don't know, it's about an hour north of the Tijuana border in Mexico, and it's in Southern California.
And it is a lovely place, San Diego. I've spent a happy day there, and it has that kind of villagey feel, although I went from LA down to San Diego, and by the time I left LA, I was quite happy to leave. But I liked the approach of San Diego. It just felt kind of small and intimate somehow.
San Diego is fantastic, David, especially when you're driving south from Los Angeles, because let's be honest, as great as it is, it's a little congested. There's a lot of cars. There's not enough freeway. There's a lot of great things to offer. But when you come down the freeway to San Diego, it's like the clouds open up, David. It's like the harps are playing. You see the ocean. People are a little bit more relaxed. The downtown San Diego has been transformed. It's fantastic. And we would love to have you in San Diego whenever you want to come, David.
Well, it's a place for entrepreneurs, isn't it? Anyone on the online environment, it almost seems that you go to Florida, you go to San Diego, you go to Boulder, and it seems to be those three places that are moving and shaking in the online environment. And I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and they said, well, it's quite obvious that if you are entrepreneurial and you've got the ability to create your own income, most of the time that you are designing your own lifestyle, and it's unlikely that you're then going to go off to Alaska or somewhere. You will try to create a lifestyle where it's sunny all the time.
David, I've been to a few places, as I'm sure you have as well. There's a lot of great spots with weather. Right now, I am in a small beach town in the Dominican Republic, but to be completely fair and completely honest, it's really tough to beat the weather in San Diego, which means it's usually sunny. It doesn't rain too much. It's never extremely hot or extremely cold. And of course, you have the ocean there. So within about 30 minutes or so, wherever you are in the county of San Diego, you could be beachside enjoying maybe a little surfing, maybe a little fish tacos. You know how we do it in San Diego.
So what was life like for you? Were you kind of entrepreneurial when you was a little nipper?
First, you have to explain to me what a nipper is, and then maybe I can answer that a little bit better.
I'm sorry, I slipped into UK mode. A little nipper is a small child. A small child with scabs on his knees, and he's running around in shorts, and he's just being a child. We call them little nippers.
Absolutely. Born and raised, my father was owned restaurants and pizza places and family-run businesses. So from the age of, I don't know, 4 or 5, I was always working in his small family businesses. So from a young age, even though my mom is an ex-retired teacher, she was employed by the state, obviously. But I always had this entrepreneurial mindset of where I would love to do it on my own and live life on my own terms.
Why, though? You know, because family businesses, we've got a family business, and it's hard work. And you actually see the nuts and bolts of running your own business, that quote unquote, the entrepreneurial world, for somebody who's going into it, almost feels like you're going to choose your own time, and you're going to float here, you're going to float there, and you can go swimming in the afternoon. And when you actually get into it, you find that it is quite restrictive in many ways. Hugely fun, really positive, and it's a great thing to do, but it does take up time. If your dad's running a kind of brick and mortar pizza place, then that's harder than anything, isn't it?
That's extremely harder than anything. And David, that is why I do not own a pizza place. If anybody has been in the restaurant business or restaurant industry or anything where you have to be there basically all day, every single day, you will know that that's a very, very tough business. So that's why for me, I chose a little different route. But we kind of all choose what chooses us. But for me, I was out of that restaurant business, David, and wanted to do something else.
So, but was there a part of that you just thought, no, I'm not going to be like my dad? I know he's working hard, he's providing for me, he's doing everything that a dad should to bring money in. But was it just that he was there all the time, or was there sort of an aspect of it that you really thought didn't resonate with you?
Absolutely. I think all boys, especially when we're growing up, hopefully we have fathers, and we always think that we're smarter, right? I'm smarter than my dad. I'm funnier. I'm going to be wealthier. I'm going to do things. I see all the mistakes he's making. We never see all the positive things. So we always say, oh, here's all the things that he's doing wrong, or maybe things that I would do differently. So in our mindset, we're already charting our own course on what we want to do in life. But I completely agree.
So when you look back on it now, and you've got more understanding of what he went through? Do you actually go, no, he did a good job, and really I couldn't have improved upon what he was doing?
Wait a minute, David. Is this my father or is this really you? I've heard about your show. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to get in a ball. There's not going to be any tears coming from my eyes, David.
I am your father.
Wait, do I have to pay for this session? I mean, should I be laying down? What's going on here?
I should do it over a glass, actually. I am your father. Yeah, so is it a case that you look back and you kind of go, yeah, actually he was spot on? Because it's true what you were saying. My son now is 12, and he's just slipping into that vibe that he thinks he's cleverer than anyone, and that his dad's an idiot, basically. And he won't admit that to me, and certainly if he listens to this now, he will be shocked. But anyone who lives with my son would go, yes, that's what he's thinking. And when you come out the other side and you become either a parent yourself or you go into business, you see it with different eyes, don't you? You see the struggle that your parents were going through. And what is it now when you look back, joining up the dots of that part of your life, that you would go, number one, I would change. Number two, he did it spot on.
Wow. Number one, what I would change, when you're involved in a brick and mortar business, especially something like a pizza place, you have to put in a lot of hours. Sometimes you've tried other things that didn't work. Sometimes you tried hiring employees that maybe didn't work out, or unfortunately, maybe they stole, or if you have a restaurant, maybe they gave out some of the food for free, which is like stealing. So it would be nice if maybe there was a different strategy he could have used to put more people in place to run the business when he wasn't there, so he could be creating income while he wasn't there. Of course, that's always easier said than done. One thing that he did and is always fantastic in is being consistent. He's one of those guys that wakes up early, goes to bed late, says exactly what he's going to do, and does exactly what he says he's going to do. And he's always very consistent. That's something that we always strive to do, but he always just did it because he didn't know anything else. He just knew to be consistent.
And that is a key part of being entrepreneurial, isn't it? Whatever you're doing, if you're providing value to people, once you start providing value, you've got to keep it up. And the moment that you stop or you're slightly late delivering, the question marks appear and people think, oh, hang on, he's starting to slip. So is that consistency something that you've taken into your line of work now?
Yes, I try to, because what you want to do is develop a system or a routine that's successful, that works. And once you develop something that works, you want to consistently do it. On top of that, David, I think that, and I've heard this spoken by a lot of smarter people than myself, that there's only so much every single day that you can think, that you can be creative, that you can do creative things. And if every single day we're thinking to ourselves, what time should I wake up? What should I wear? What should I have for breakfast? It's taking all of our creative juices away. So once you develop a routine or a system that works, I think it's a fantastic idea to continue that system. So then you can leave some of the bigger decisions or the bigger choices, leave some of those creative juices flowing and open for when those times come.
So are you somebody that kind of wears the same clothes every day so they don't really have to focus in on that part, and almost eats the same food and gets up at the same time? Is that how you're structuring your day?
David, if I can wear sandals, shorts, be in a location that's pretty warm so I don't have air conditioning or too many ceiling fans or have to turn on a heater, if I can enjoy some nice rum every now and then, a nice cigar every now and then, but besides those, if I can eat pretty healthy, which doesn't go hand in hand, then yes, I try to develop a system or some kind of routine that I like to do, but something not too crazy. If we do things that are too astronomical or too out there, we can't be consistent with it. So I try to choose something that's consistent and that makes me happy.
Because you seem like, honestly, you seem like you're having your cake and eat it. You sound like the happiest person alive, really. Are you sort of blessed? Are you waking up each day going, I'm in holiday or vacation territory, I'm wearing shorts and sandals, I'm earning income doing what I love, life couldn't be any better?
David, keep going. This is sounding fantastic. My ego is better. I'm feeling more self-confident. David, please go on.
Is that the case, though? Are you one of these people that goes, yeah, actually, I really have achieved to the level that I want to be at my age? How old are you at the moment, Taylor?
I am currently in my middle 30s, David.
Okay, so you're 35, are you? Or are you
David,
37? Well,
I don't
where
know.
does middle stop?
What are we talking about? Dog years? Like, is this in English or are we doing because I'm in the Dominican Republic, so we deal with Spanish. Sometimes the Spanglish for me thing, David, it doesn't really work. I'm in my middle 30s, but no, I'm a happy guy. David, it comes down to this. We all deal with things every single day. It's not the thing, everybody deals with stuff. It's how you deal with the things that you come across is what makes you happy or not. What does that mean? That means that every day we're going to get a flat tire. There's going to be business deals that don't work out. We're going to be fatter than what we want to be. Some of us might have more or less hair. We might be whiter. All of these things, but everybody has these things in lives that we deal with. It's how you deal with these things that really sets you up with how you're going to live your life. And I don't want to be, the glass is always half full type of thing, but it's really how you deal with these things. And I just choose, if we're going to be here and we're going to be doing things, let's do things that we love. And if we don't love them, let's trick ourselves a little bit into thinking that we do love them so we enjoy our life.
But it must be easier for somebody like yourself who is in the Dominican Republic. You've probably got a nice cool drink by the side of you. It's beautiful scenery to be happier than probably my target audience who are going to jobs that they don't like. They're sitting next to people that they don't like under neon strips, just trying to get through a day so that they can go home to get a few hours kip before they come back and do it again.
Yes, that's a great point. But I also could be sitting here, David, and saying I've had internet problems all day. It's one of the slowest internets of any place I've ever been. Going into town, sometimes it's not very nice. It's dirty. It kind of is expensive when I compare it to other places, maybe in Ecuador or maybe in Vietnam or Thailand. So I can choose to focus on some of those things. I would just rather not. We're all going through this life. Let's be excited. Let's be happy. Let's strive for things. And if I'm living a life, let's say right now, because I need to, that is not the life that I want to lead, that's okay. Let's set things in place where we're going to get to the spot that we want to be in. If that was I'm working in a job that I don't necessarily want to be working in, if I'm working for someone that I don't want to be working for or doing things that I don't want to be working for, that's fantastic. Let me put this in my mind and say, I'm going to have a game plan in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. This is where I want to be. I'm going to work like heck to get to where I want to be. And then in 3 months or 6 months, I can look back and say, look, I did all the things I had to do to get where I want to be, and now I'm happy, and I'm going to continue to be happy and continue to set goals and continue to reach those goals.
No, I agree with that totally. And you must have had a game plan for, since a young age to be doing what you're doing. And we are going to touch on what you're doing. But it's enviable. That's the word, really, that you have got yourself in a position that you could basically get to a place and go, actually, I don't like it here. I will move on. And you've got a business now that you've created yourself, and it's one that's been, I'm sure, a struggle to get going, but is moveable. And you can take that and move around. And that must be an enviable place to be. If you don't like it, let's find somewhere else that I do.
Absolutely. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I've chosen to design my life so I can be somewhat mobile. If I own a piece of real estate, let's say an apartment, it's not necessarily all that liquid, so I can't just move it or I can't just cash out. But for the most part, if I'm able to, I try to design the life that I want to live.
Right. This is the nuts and bolts of this episode then. So can most people out there, or can all people, design the life they want? I know what I feel, but I'm going to wait until you tell me the answer first.
I think we can. And for everybody, it's different. I don't want to be married. I don't want to have any kids yet. I want to be able to travel if I so choose. I want to have a little bit of money in the bank account. That's for me. For other people, they might say, that sounds miserable, Taylor. Why would you ever want to do that? Maybe for them, they want to be married. They want to have kids. They want to go to a stable job. They want to cook at home. They want to do those things. That's fantastic. So I think it all depends on the person and what they want to do. David, I would love to hear what you think.
I think that everyone can design their life too. And I think the failure of the world is that we buy into other people's myths of what we need to do or what society expects us to do. And probably 80%, I would say, of the people in this world, if you sat them down and you had a heart-to-heart with them and go, is this what you really want to be doing with your life? They would go, no, it's not. I would rather be doing this. I would rather be doing that. But for some reason or other, they have moved themselves in that position. And it's never too late to move out of that position. You know, I'll be honest with you, Taylor. I'm 44 years old and I made a leap of faith, which was in many ways lunacy. I was quite settled in a job. I could have been there forever and a day, but I just knew it wasn't mine. And now I totally believe that you can design your life and you just need that target. You need that understanding. With you, I think that you have done it at an earlier age. And I think you've created it to an image that most people would say he is uber successful already. You know, it sounds like the dream life. You've got freedom, you've got money coming in, you're in a gorgeous location, you're obviously loving what you're doing, you've got a new podcast out, you've got an online business, blah, blah, blah. And you have consciously made those decisions to design your life. And I think everyone can do that.
I couldn't agree more. And I really believe what you said earlier is so key. And it's so hard because I have ACD as well. But at some point, we need to put away the computer, the internet, the weird TV shows on TV. And we need to sit, whether it's with ourselves or with our significant other or as a family, we need to sit down and say, I'm living this life every single day, week, month, year. Time flies by. Am I really doing the things that I want to be doing? And we never are at 100%. And if I'm not, let me write down what I want my life to be. And then let's work backwards and say, here's all the steps. Here's the small steps. Here's the bigger steps. Here's some of the roadblocks that are going to come up. But let's design the life that we want to live. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or 30 or 50, if you have a little bit of money or a lot of money, or if you are self-employed or not self-employed. Sit down and think about the life that you want to live, not what someone else tells you, not of a 4-hour work week if that's not what you want, not a professor at a college with a family if that's not what you want. Find out what you want to do and then put down all the steps it's going to take for you to get there.
Right, we're going to come to this after a first bit of key motivational speech. This is Jim Carrey. Have a listen to this.
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
I might once have an episode where I just keep on playing that over and over and over again, because I think it is so important and it's so true. What do you think?
I think that's a very good quote. And when I heard it, I was like, you know what? But I like to eat pizza, David. I can't design a life around eating pizza, but that's not necessarily true, right? You could own a pizza place. If you like to write, you say, oh, who wants to pay for my simple emails? You might be a sales copywriter. You might be an author. You might write fiction. You might write nonfiction. So I believe that there's things that you might want to do with your life. You might have some passions, and then not necessarily those specific things. I love smoking cigars, but I don't think I can make money doing it. But you might open a cigar business. So I think that from the things that you love to do, maybe look on the outskirts a little bit and see if you can design a business or work in a business or devote some of your off time to those things.
Now with your passion, you are, it's just coming across. You are so passionate every time you open your mouth. Has that always been there? When you was a little kid, were you somebody that was always a dreamer, somebody whizzing around, being very hyperactive? Is the Taylor White that we're seeing now pretty much what we would have seen when you was 5 or 6?
David, we are really digging deep now. We're really going back to the childhood, and I am pretty emotional. I'm pretty energetic, but to be honest with you, as a kid, I had a horrible stuttering problem. So I actually didn't speak very much. So I had a lot of friends, but I wasn't very outspoken. I was a little bit more passive. I was very active in school, sports, and working. But socializing wise, even though I had a lot of friends, probably as a byproduct of being pretty good in sports, I had a pretty bad stuttering problem. So for me, socializing wasn't a big thing. It wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I could at least be able to have some kind of conversations and speak a little bit. But for me, I think as I get older almost, David, I get a little bit more passionate because time's short and days turn into a week, what turns into months, it turns into years. And unless we start right now and get excited about our lives, we may never, and time's going to fly by.
So what is the thing at the moment that excites you more about your life than anything?
The thing that excites me most about my life right now is being in the Dominican Republic. I can't lie. It's a little it's not really a vacation because it's always work. And I'm also here because I've been going through the process for years now to get my second citizenship here. But one of the things I love, David, I know this is surface level and you can laugh at me. I welcome your UK laughing, is I love Dominican cigars and I love Dominican rum. So when you add those two things together and being a single guy in a very attractive country, it's a good time right now.
I think it's a perfect thing, and I would never laugh at that at all, because it's sometimes it's those small things that really make you realise what you've got, doesn't it? And the fact that you're sitting there and you're having your glass of rum and you're smoking your cigar at a time that's your choosing is in many ways your dream success status, isn't it?
I love it, David. I'm feeling so much better now about getting cancer, about developing a drinking problem. No, I really don't. But I agree. Sometimes we need to take these smaller wins to enjoy bigger wins. I've always been that type of person, David. I'm sure you have been too. I can tell by how you conduct your show. Where we always have this carrot in front of us, where we never enjoy the journey. It's always about the destination. For me, it was always about if I buy that next place, or if I sell and make X amount of dollars, or if I visit so many countries, or if I try and get residency in so many countries, or diversify. Sometimes we get so caught up in that we don't enjoy the journey as we're doing it. So like right now, for instance, I'm trying to enjoy things a little bit more, these little small wins when they come around.
I'm the world's worst celebrator, I'll be honest, and I agree with exactly what you're saying. I know I should be doing that, but when I started, I just thought to myself, right, okay, I just want to record 5 episodes, and then it got to 10 episodes, and then it got to 50 episodes, and then I wanted to have 1,000 people listening, and then it went to 10,000, and then it went to 16,000, and every time my achievements are met, I don't even blink. And I wish I did. I wish I sort of looked at it and go, yeah, brilliant. I've really worked hard on this. I've really got this to where I want it to be. But I don't. I just kind of go, right, okay, that's good. Let's move on to the next bit. And it is a fading, isn't it? For everyone out there, and we're not just talking about the successful people. We're just talking about people doing things on a day-to-day basis. They might have a big dream that they want to do. They might have a passion that they want to achieve. Or they might just be totally happy in what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. You still have to appreciate what you've done on a day-to-day basis and have these little celebrations, which we don't in life. It's madness.
It's also like if you have ever tried to lose weight and you say, okay, my ultimate goal is whatever pounds or kilos or kilograms or however it's done in the UK.
Stone.
And you say, okay.
It's the only one you missed out on.
And you say, okay, well, I want to lose 20 pounds or 50 pounds or 100 pounds or 200 pounds. So that's the ultimate goal. But on a shorter time frame, then you should celebrate shorter things. You should celebrate if you lose your first pound or your first 5 or your first 10. Or women, I think, are fantastic at this. Like if you're with a girl, if you date a girl or you're married to a girl, before you know it, there's an anniversary for this. And the first time we kissed, the first time we held hands, it was a first time for everything, right? So they're always they take pictures. Wherever you go, let's take a picture. Let's take a picture. I think women naturally might be a little bit better at that. Maybe I'm stereotyping. I'm not sure. But I think what's so big to getting to our big wins or our big something is to really enjoy and celebrate each step and each small milestone to get there.
Right, okay, so in your life, I suppose the successes, the wins would be classed as dots in my timeline. So if you went back, what would be your first win, your first dot that started to lead you to where you are now, to where you wanted to be? Can you remember?
I can absolutely remember because I'm looking at my right hand, and for a time frame, my father and I owned a pizza place together, and it was going well, but it wasn't going to be in the correct direction for either of us. And I made, I don't know, 10,000, 50,000, I don't know how many pizzas in my day. And for some reason, the small finger on my right hand was stuck in the pizza machine and it tore it right off. And so about half, I guess it would be, of my right pinky finger, which it doesn't really matter because you don't ever really use it, but half of that is gone. And for me at the time, of course, it's like, oh, you're losing part of your body. You think you're going to die, blood spurting out, all those kinds of things. But for me, that was the first step to say, hey, I'm doing things in my life that I don't really want to be doing. There's a bigger picture for me, and I want to go find out what it is first before I'm stuck in this life that I don't necessarily want to be in for me.
I was talking to somebody the other night and they were saying you could class the dots of life as also the scars of life. These are the things that you look back on and you go, yeah, that was rubbish, but it's moved me on to the next part, or I wish that hadn't happened, but I gained from experience. And so you've actually really have got a physical dot. You've got a scar of life that you can look down, and every minute of the day, it's there to push you on. It's visibly there.
And I'm staring at it right now, David. And instead of saying, shoot, why did that happen to me? For me, it's actually a good thing because it was letting me know at the time what I was doing wasn't for me. And there's this other path, and this will help facilitate for whatever reason. It was like one of those things where it's like, no, I can't do this anymore. I lost part of a small finger that doesn't really matter. But for me, it was a big deal saying, see, I'm doing something I don't want to do. I could lose the rest of my body. Let me go do it right now.
But, I love that because it's simple in many ways, but it's something that is tangible, isn't it? You made a decision based on something that happened to you, and you realized at that moment that the life you were leading was basically the life not that your dad expected of you, but was what you knew. You'd seen your parents operating, you felt comfortable in that environment, so you naturally kind of slipped into that. And that's what so many of us do, and we all kind of follow this path which has been set down by generations ago, because our nans and granddads went off to work every day 9 to 5, and then our mums and dads saw that and thought that's the way we have to operate, we're going to do that. And then we see how our mums and dads operate, and it's that comfort, it's that mindset, it's almost that brainwashing that says to us, no, we can't work when we want to. We can't make more money than I've ever thought possible, but I'm only doing 6 hours a week. We can't, because work has to be hard. You went against that at that moment, and I think that's a brilliant story to have.
David, I love that, and it's so true, because sometimes you're stuck in an environment and you just don't know anything else. So as soon as you get out of that environment, it's one of those things, right? You don't know until you know. So you get out of that environment, you meet other people, you see what other people are doing, you're open up to new experiences, and then at that time you can say, oh my gosh, there's other things in life that I might be better suited for. Maybe there's other things that I can do. Nothing would have happened unless I lost my little finger. I'm out of this little bubble now, which was fantastic. Maybe not for me at that time in my life. Now I am experiencing other things. Let me go see what else there is in life that might be better for me.
And the beauty of what we've got now is that you can experience without any risk. You can click on the internet and you can look around. So you can do it while you're at work, 9 to 5. You can do it at your lunchtime. I spent a good couple of years every lunchtime with my laptop on, not talking to anyone, but researching and looking around and seeing what other people were doing in the world. And it didn't give me the answer. I didn't know where I was going to end up, but it certainly made me realize there was more to life than what I was getting. And that awareness is really the first step. And I say that all the time. If you are out there, and I'm talking to the listeners now, and you're in a situation that you don't think is right for you or you do not like doing, one of the easiest things to do is go, I'm going to leave this job and almost go into the same job again, because that's where your skill levels are. But what you need to do is start looking around and realize that actually you've already got skills. You've got inherent skills that you're not using. It's only because you've gone into those jobs which have used the skills that you have developed because you're in that job. And what myself and Taylor and everyone else is saying is really, once you find your unique self, once you find your path, once you find the skills that you can just do naturally, then the world will open up and you've got opportunities. Bit ranty, Taylor, but that's what I think.
David, I think that's a fantastic rant. And one of the great things about today versus 10, 15, 20 years ago is you have awesome things like the internet or like iTunes and podcast or Stitcher Radio or Gmail or Skype. So you can see that you're not the only one. There's a lot of other people. It doesn't matter what your age or what your sex or what your race or any of these things that don't matter. There's other people that feel exactly how you feel, and that's okay. And then what you do now is that you find out from other people what they're doing, how they got there, and then maybe some great ways that they got there and maybe some things that they wouldn't do. So now you can reach out to people who are doing the things that you want to do, and you can mimic them, you can ask them questions, or David, they can listen to your awesome podcast.
How did you know what you wanted to do then? You've chopped your finger off, you've decided I'm not going to be in this pizza place. You're now selling real estate, but there must have been a bridge that took you from one part to another. It's very easy that you find your passion in life, but how to make money out of that passion, that's the harder thing. So how did you make that transition?
David, that's a fantastic question. I wake up every single day thinking, what am I going to do with my life? What's my purpose? Why am I here? When I left the pizza place, for a while, I was working at another job that wasn't for me. During that time, I was studying, hey, how can I make money? I'm a guy. I want to make some money. I want to get some girls. I want to have a fun life. I want a good car, right? I want all these things. How am I going to do that? And for me, I just gravitated towards real estate. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be international. At the time, I had no idea what that was. I read books by great authors. These are kind of fictitious people, which might make sense why I have a pen name named Taylor White. One guy was Dr. W.G. Hill. There's another guy, Grandpa, kind of the Jason Bourne-esque, that told about all these amazing places that you can go live your life if you want to get involved in real estate, or you want to find women, or you want to do all these amazing things. For me, my path was real estate, so I got involved in real estate. At the time, it was right after September 11th. Unfortunately, in the U.S., mortgage rates significantly dropped. So I found out all the creative ways that someone with no money, no income, no credit, not very smart, couldn't really talk, couldn't socialize with anybody. How can I figure out how to buy some real estate, maybe sell it with a little bit more money, maybe then use that money to buy some more real estate, to then facilitate me being able to travel a little bit, and then maybe I can buy and sell real estate overseas. So for me, taking it back, that's kind of how I got my start in the real estate, in traveling, and how all the fun began, my friend.
That's fascinating, because so many people will go, it's not the right time. Oh, no, this isn't quite right. That's not quite right. But you actually were in a time that really wasn't quite right because of 9/11. But there's opportunities, aren't there? And there's probably more opportunities when things aren't going your way, because so many other people will think the same way as you. So you've just got to make your brain operate in a different way. And what you did was you wanted it and you became creative. And as you're saying, you're finding all these different ways to basically build your knowledge base. And once you've got that, you're in an enviable position, because other people will then want that knowledge, and you're round the curve. You've already moved ahead of everyone.
David, it's like, and a lot of people have said this, I know, but Tony Robbins, if you have a big enough reason why, then you'll figure out the path. Why is it so often that people with no education whatsoever form these amazing businesses, or they're scientists, or they do these amazing internet companies? Why is it that people in the sports world, basketball as a for instance, why is it so many come from the inner city? They don't have anything. How is it possible that they can be so successful? It's because they have a big enough reason why. They don't like their life right now. They're not happy. So for them, they have a big enough reason why, and they'll do anything they can, anything in their power. It doesn't matter if it's basketball or a scientist or the best podcast or real estate or something that you're interested in. If you're really not happy and you want to have a big enough reason why, you're going to figure it out.
So do you think that people who are not terribly unhappy but neither terribly happy are probably more at risk of missing out on the dreams than people who have really started with nothing?
Yes, because if you're kind of living a comfortable life, you're not going to make any changes. If you would like to lose 5 or 10 pounds, but you don't see a big enough reason to, you're not going to lose the weight. If you're smoking too many Dominican cigars, but you don't want to really stop, then you're not going to stop. I think until we really decide, if I'm not living the life that I want to live, whatever that means to me, then you're never going to change it. If everything is so-so or fair to middling or it's not too good, but it's not too bad, but I'm just getting by, those are the type of people, unfortunately, until they mentally decide to make a change, will never change.
So is it purely mindset?
I think it can be mindset. I think it can be circumstantial. I think it can be by the environment. I think there could be a lot of reasons, but really until someone decides, someone in their own mind decides, I want to change, unless they're forced to change by no money or some other circumstance, then they're not going to change.
Because I was forced to change by a horrible boss. And it was just simple that. And I look back on it now and I kind of think, it really wasn't that bad. But at the time, it was really bad. And I just couldn't stand this woman. And it made me move into where I am now. I look back on it, and I've said this so many times in so many shows, I am so glad that I met this horrible woman, because she has pushed me onto a life which is, you know, it's not a dream life. I'm working 3 times as hard as I was before, but it's totally under my control. And for the first time ever, I can see that I'm building something, and I can see that I'm inspiring people. And the fact that I'm getting so many emails each day just makes me want to, you know, do it more and more. And if I could produce a 3 times a day show, that would be even better. Obviously, it's hard enough to do a 7 days a week show, but it is that ability to actually just go, yes, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. It can just be mildly discomforting. But once you decide, then you're on your way, aren't you?
I agree. And also one thing that you can do, as I'm listening to you, as I'm thinking about this too, is that you want to surround yourself, if you can, with people who are living lives that you want to lead. So maybe you're in a job, the job is okay, but maybe you want to do something else. Maybe you want to work for a better company, or maybe you want to get promoted, or you want to make more money, or you want to go self-employed. If you surround yourself with the type of people that you want to be, I also think that helps facilitate you getting the ball rolling, getting excited, about changing your course or about changing things that you're doing in your life.
Well, let's play the words of Steve Jobs, because he talks amazingly well about changing your course and finding your path. This is the words of Steve Jobs, and then we're going to talk about it afterwards.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
So for you, Taylor, the fact that you can't connect your dots looking forward only by looking back, is that liberating? Because I think so many people out there, that's the scary bit. They almost want the answers before they start. And Steve Jobs is saying, look, we're not going to get the answers. That's where the faith and the trust and the intuition comes in. But by taking action on a squiggly path and making it consistent action on a daily basis, by the hour, by the minute, or whatever you need to do to get to where you want to be, ultimately, he believes with faith you will get there. But do you find that exciting, or do you find actually deep down that's as scary as the next man?
Well, it's also one of those quotes, right? Like you don't know until you know, or you don't ever judge a man until you walk a mile in his shoes, or all these different quotes. And Steve Jobs hit it absolutely fantastic. You just don't know. So you're charting this course. You're in the Dominican Republic. You quit your job. You're in the UK. You're trying these new things. You're excited. It's scary. It's exciting. It's liberating. That's how it is. You try to make the best decisions at any given time. You try and work hard. You try and network with great people. Unfortunately, there's bad things that happen. There's good things that happen. And then at some point you turn around and you look in your past and you look, oh, I lost part of my finger. I couldn't speak as a kid, or I was in this job I didn't like. And then it all starts to make sense. Oh, here's the reason why this happened. And here's the reason why this happened. And here's the reason why this happened. And to me, that's why it's so important to sometimes you have to stop, reflect, see where you've been, see where you are now, see where you want to go, and then you can kind of connect how all these things are playing out, and so how you can better chart where you want to go.
But do you find it scary? Do you find the fact that you do not know what the future is going to hold for you scary? Or do you find that liberating? I actually now find it liberating, and the fact that I don't know how big this show's going to get, what's going to happen to me, is kind of more exciting than I've ever had, because I haven't got the answers. But every day I can go out there and almost make the answers, and that's the bit that has been my mindset shift. It's down to me to make this thing happen. Nobody else. It's just down to me. What about yourself? Do you thrive on that? I get the feeling that you do thrive on that.
Yes, I do. I think I thrive on that. It's up to me. And there's something that you said that is so true, is that you make it happen. You create it. Now you understand, I understand, it's up to us. We're creating each day, each week, each month. We're creating our own destiny. Is it scary? Sure. But you turn that into opportunity. You make that inspire you. You make it so you get up earlier, right? You stay up later, you work harder, you try and work smarter, you network more, you just get more hungry, David, on the things that you want to do. So you turn scary into persevering, you turn it into energy, you turn it into being creative, and you just do it.
We call it hustle muscle. And when you start, you don't really know what you're doing, and you just kind of mess around, and you spend hours, and you look back on it and you kind of think, I didn't really do anything there at all. And then little by little, you start streamlining, and you just start flexing your hustle muscle, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, just like you work out and your biceps and your triceps get bigger and bigger and bigger by hustling on a daily basis. After a while, you suddenly realize that, hey, I should have been doing this years ago. I love doing this. And reaching out to people like you did to come on this show. I'm sure, many people would have found that a scary thing, asking permission to a complete stranger for a conversation. But once you get used to that, and that's the key thing, it's not an overnight thing, but once you get used to that, you realize that there's grease everywhere, and you can just make things slide in your direction by overcoming this fear that isn't actually bad when you start doing it.
I love it. It's something that Tim Ferriss has talked about quite a bit. It's something that Noah Kagan has talked about, James Altucher, on his podcast. And it's doing the uncomfortable to make you comfortable. It's you send emails to people that you don't think would answer, so they answer. It's going into a restaurant, a Starbucks, a Denny's, whatever it is, and walking in and ordering something and asking for a discount. You need to flex this uncomfortable muscle that we all have, this imposter syndrome. Why would David ever have me on his show? Why would so-and-so ever consult with me? Why would I ever be successful? Well, if you flex this muscle, it becomes stronger, it becomes more durable, and that's how you grow, that's how you expand, is by going after this.
Did you have anything, even now, that you kind of had those same imposter thoughts where you go, no, that's never going to work. Well, why would that possibly work? Why are they going to talk to me? Do you still have those doubts?
I have them all the time for everything. I don't know if that makes me good or bad. I have the imposter syndrome every single day for a lot of things that I do, for whether it's podcasting, whether it's for an online business, whether it's for trying to buy and sell real estate, whether it's for seeking residency or citizenship or bank accounts or anything, for cooking, for relationships. Guys have it for girls, right? You go up and speak to some girl. I'm now in a foreign country, whether it's Brazil, Portuguese, Dominican Republic, Spanish, trying to speak a local language to become friends with a girl, maybe go out. I have this all the time. I don't know about you, David, but I have it basically every single day.
I don't have it every day now, but when I have it big. And I will be suddenly thinking, this show's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to be living in a cardboard box. And it's not right. And I know it's not right, but I get this thought coming in. And it's not when I'm doing it. When I'm doing it, I just feel like it's going to be the biggest show ever. I just kind of feel it. It's just like naturally me. It's when I'm not doing it and the kids are saying to me, oh, come and watch the latest Muppet film or something, and I'm kind of half watching it while my mind's on other things, then that's when it starts sort of creeping in. And I really have to force it out because I've had it so many times. I had it before I launched. I had it after the first 50 shows. I remember recording my 100th show, and that was a biggie. And I thought, is this going to be, am I going to fall flat? Can I raise my game? Is this going to be terrible? Blah, blah, blah. All these doubts constantly. But you just get over it, don't you? And you realise that once you get over it, you're going to have other doubts. And I'm sure people, we always talk about Richard Branson. I'm sure he has doubts. And I'm sure there's times when he thinks, oh my God, what am I getting into? But he gets into it and he asks for help and he finds out the things that he can't do. So he gets people to do it. And ultimately things work out. You find a way, don't you?
Wait, David, I'm confused. Who's Richard Branson?
He's an English bloke. He's a bit like myself with lovely white hair, and
English.
He's an English guy, yeah, and he's got a nice island somewhere, and he's one of these guys, Taylor, who basically blurs work and play, and I think that's really what you're doing as well, aren't you?
I'm trying to. I mean, he's a great example. Obviously, he's incredibly intelligent. A lot of things going, but I think our overall theme of this fantastic talk so far, David, is you got to do it. Nothing starts right until the first step. We all have this imposter syndrome. We all think it's not going to happen. For you, it's the first show. It was quitting my job. I have a family. I have kids. How am I going to support it? How am I going to monetize this? And then it was 50 shows, and then it's 100 shows. And then it's like, okay, great. This is going to be something awesome. This is going to be something inspiring, going to have great people on. I'm going to have a huge audience. How do I take this to the next level? And you're going to start dealing with this all the time with things. Or I deal with it all the time. I don't think it's something that I'm ever going to feel comfortable with because I always want to press the limits, right? I always want to try and be stronger or faster or smarter or eat healthier or find a better Dominican cigar, or for real estate, find better deals or work with different agents. But you're always pushing those comfort levels. I think that's very important, right? If you can do 5 push-ups today, if you do 5 push-ups tomorrow and 5 push-ups the next day, guess what? Over time, you're going to get weaker. So you have to push it. You have to go to 6. You have to go to 7. You have to go to 10. So you always have to push your boundaries to see how far you can go.
So let's give the audience a story about yourself where you've been pushing your limits and it didn't work. How did you feel when it didn't work for you and something was, quote unquote, a failure? Now, what we try to get over in this show, that even failures are just stepping stones to success. And if you get them out of the way, you're ultimately going to get success. So they're no big thing to fear. But how did you overcome something that you were driven to achieve and you didn't?
David, that's a great question. For me, it goes back to real estate. I've always been pretty driven as far as the overseas real estate scene because that was the direction I wanted to go in life. I've never been wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. And so whatever little money I've had, I've always tried to buy, always tried to make it work. For me, that was buying pre-construction apartments or what you might know as off-plan apartments in several different countries, trying to time things. So for me, it was being overly aggressive. I got myself into some sticky situations because I had to abide by contracts as far as payment-wise. Developers didn't necessarily have to abide by them as far as completion timeframes. And to be fair, they just had a tough job. They have to build a building. So for me, a big roadblock was getting stuck sometimes with these apartments that I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I didn't know if I'd be able to sell it. I didn't have enough money to close on all these at the same time. So while that was a mistake, then I turned around and then tried to work with good people to sell them. So one of my downfalls is being a little bit too aggressive. One way that I can turn that around is then take a step back and say, great, let me network with great people. I have some good strategies and tactics in place. Let me use some of those to get me out of this situation. Let me stop for a second, take a step back, understand why I did this. I'm going to make it again. I know I will, but try not to make it again and learn from it. And if whenever possible, if I see a younger self of mine or someone else, and I see them maybe going down a path that I can see might not turn out how it's going to turn out, maybe by me telling my story, not as some genie in a bottle or not as someone preaching, but maybe here's what happened to me, here's why it happened, here's how I got out of it, and maybe you wouldn't have to go down that same road.
Well, do you know, it's an amazing thing that you're now going to have a one-on-one with your younger self. What a freak of nature that is. Because we've come to the part that we call the sermon on the mic. And this is when I send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And if you could go back in time, what age Taylor would you talk to? And what advice would you give them? Well, we're going to play the tune, and when it fades out, you're up. This is the sermon on the mic.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
Younger Taylor White, T-Dizzle, T-Money. Of course, you don't know that's your name yet, but I promise you at some point, you're going to own that name. It's very important in life. You stay hungry. You stay thirsty. You want to experience more. You want to do more. You go out and you grab it. There's going to be obstacles that come in your life, that come in everyone's life. When those obstacles come, keep going. Don't ever stop. Stay hungry. Learn from those obstacles. Try not to make them again and keep going down the path.
Taylor, last two questions. Where will we see you in 5 years? What's your plan? The connecting of the dots going forward. What's your focus?
My focus is to keep doing what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I love traveling to different countries. I love buying and selling real estate. I love diversifying my assets into other countries. For me, hopefully, ideally, it would be great to be on the same location on your podcast, maybe in the Dominican Republic, maybe in a location like Medellin, Colombia, but continuing on doing what I'm doing right now, just bigger, better, and badder, David.
And for all the listeners out there, can they have a kick-ass life, do you think?
Everybody, without a doubt, without any being in my body, I can tell you that everyone can have a kick-ass life. Design the life that's correct for you and go after it.
How can the audience connect with you, Taylor?
They can reach my website, internationalrealestatelistings.com. From there, you can find my awesome podcast. And I welcome all and any emails to taylor@internationalrealestatelistings.com.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots of your life. And please come back again when you have more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up those dots and connecting our pasts is the best way to build our futures. Taylor White, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, David. Loved it.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice That Every Successful Entrepreneur Practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.
Do you know, I felt like going boo because you thought the show had ended, but no, it's me again. Can you do me a favour? I'm really looking for some 5-star ratings and reviews on iTunes. It really is the rocket power that pushes you up. I haven't wanted to ask before because I felt a little bit embarrassed about it, but now is the time that I need to make the move. So if you've loved the show and you've loved listening to it as much as I've loved doing it for you, go over to iTunes and look for David Ralph Join Up Dots, and all the reviews will be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you so much for simply listening. But if you could do this as well, wow, we're gonna be mates forever. Thanks very much. Bye bye.